Hey guys, Morten Nostad here with another video. So, Stephen Patrick Morrissey, what is to be done with you? Well, here's a question that some of us might be asking now that Morrissey has a new album out. And I was sort of looking forward to it for a while waiting for it. When did we hear about this? So it was released, was it March 6th? I think we heard about this in December. And I talked about Morrissey a couple of times last year, in part because I got his debut album on vinyl, which I think was last year. It was a second-hand copy, very nice. One of my favorite albums of music involving the man. And also we did a video in the vinyl community where we was it a tag, was a vinyl tag or something like that, about artists that do sort of become a bit difficult, and how do we, as well, I guess music consumers, deal with that. And one of the aspects of that is, of course, when or if an artist becomes so intolerable that you don't really want to support that artist, or do you end up on the fence along with our very own vinyl community, Norman Massey, and his "It's the Music, Stupid." And I tend to adhere to the latter. But there was a point where Morrissey had an opinion, and he voiced that opinion at a concert in Poland, not very long after the biggest trauma in Norwegian history, at least after World War II, which of course was the atrocious, the domestic act of, that word that probably isn't to be mentioned on YouTube, which led to the deaths of lots of young people. And you can probably go back and think, oh, he's probably been misquoted. But when you're standing in front of a microphone and people are actually filming you saying that that's not as bad as all the animals being slaughtered for food and meat and food, then that did ruffle a few feathers. So, but in the end, I have so many fond memories of the music, of course, the Smiths above all, and his solo work. Never had the opportunity, far as I know, to see the man, and I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently it would seem that he is avoiding Norway for various reasons. He hasn't played here in a long time, while he has played in both Denmark and Sweden, and at several places in both countries as well since he was here last. So I don't know. But all that aside, I am very curious about this new record. Although not as curious as I maybe should have been, since I'm more than a week after its release. I've gone out and gotten it. Yes, I've gotten the new album by Morrissey. So after his previous album, which is now, is it 6 years ago? He hasn't been lying around. He's played his music, he toured, but what I don't know is this a recording of stuff he's done over the last 6 years, which has now finally come together on a record that a label wanted to release, or is this entirely new? Because supposedly he recorded an album called, which was supposed to be called World Peace Is Not Your Business. I think that was the one. And then people, I think people who he had recorded with, you know, probably went crying to the label or something and got them to stop the release of the record, it would seem. And probably he's also recorded one other album, which I read what the title was of that album, and now I can't bloody remember it. I think is something along the lines "Without music, the world dies" or something, which I would agree with, and that apparently also didn't get a release. Now he's back, sort of on Sire, in as much that the Smiths records that were released on Rough Trade here in Europe back in the day, they were released by Sire in the States, and a lot of us who love the Smiths, of course. My first Smiths record was a cassette that I bought at HMV, the big one on Oxford Street, and it was a cassette of Louder Than Bombs, which was of course not a European compilation. It was an American one, but it sold terrifically well over here, and it is, in my opinion, the best compilation of the Smiths, and one that I've since gotten on CD, and then a couple of years back it was reissued on vinyl, and I probably grabbed that one more than the regular studio albums. So I don't know, but here is the thing. Now it's called "Makeup Is a Lie," which can be, I suppose it can be interpreted in two ways. The literal sense that what you put on your face is a lie. It could also be about making up with people, which is maybe also a lie. And I think someone, was it Gavin, who alluded to that being in the lyrics of the song, maybe what it was about. I think Norman might have a thought about it as well. But yeah. So here it is. Picked it up over at Platekompaniet. So my Morrissey collection, unlike my Smiths collection, is almost entirely on CD. And apart from one vinyl, I think it was, that I got last year, like I said, and one cassette of his debut, which I also have lying around somewhere, probably in Denmark. And what was I going to say? Yeah, so I was going to get the CD. Probably I was keen on getting just the CD. But in this day and age, because the price on this tag was actually lower because they are having some March Madness and there are other sales, and I had the discount because of something over at Platekompaniet. And also half of this record I paid because I finally got around to depositing all my empty Pepsi Max. There's a little endorsement for you. I'm Norwegian, so of course I live on Pepsi Max. So I finally got those bottles out of here and spent the money that I got from that on this. Here we are. There's the lad himself. I don't know. I'm talking with a Northern Ireland accent whenever I hear about Morrissey. I know he's of Irish descent, but I mean, I suppose the man is not really that personally connected to Ireland. So there we are. And he certainly doesn't speak Irish. There we are. This is probably his reaction to being told that he does have to go on stage tonight. Because that's the other thing, that he keeps canceling concerts, and he keeps leaving the stage because he gets offended by various things, and it should be about the music. Yes, I know, Norman. Oh, sorry, Massey. So yeah. And like I said, he's on Sire again now, and I wanted the blue vinyl actually because I like the color blue, but they were sold out or didn't have it at all, so I went for the old red one there. I don't think there is a black one, to be honest. They had one that cost 100 kroner more, so I wasn't going to grab that because that was a zoetrope. And the person finding the record for me, and we got a bit of a laugh out of that. Why a zoetrope with Morrissey? Is he in any way or fashion involved in that decision? It's the same thing with Robert Smith from The Cure, who I'm sure is thrilled to be mentioned in a video about Morrissey. That we all thought, yeah, well, it's not up to him that the Smiths keep reissuing their records, that those of us in the vinyl community are dying to get on vinyl and not have to pay $200-300 for an old copy of, keeps reissuing them on picture disc. And we go, nah, but that's obviously not his decision. And then later on you find out, yes, he very much is. Apparently he loves them. But does Morrissey know what a zoetrope is? Well, he does now, probably, but yeah, leave that in a comment if you like. So I guess we'll hear what we'll hear. So it's a few days later, and I have been living with this thing now and listened to it quite a bit, I must say. And I am usually not someone who does album reviews because I don't feel that I'm good at it. But I did want to talk a little bit about how I perceived this album. Coming into it, of course, I knew the backstory about how hard it was for him to get an album made this time, and some personal things maybe for me that I have alluded to earlier in this video. First of all, I want to say that this sounds really good, and for the vinyl, I have heard people complain a bit about noisiness. I don't really think I noticed much, maybe a little bit in between the tracks. But I have the red, sort of a slightly smoky vinyl, which I think is the Indie Store exclusive. And funny thing is, I wanted the blue one because I like the color blue. And that's the one where I've seen some other reviews and people complaining about that one being noisy, so maybe. Not heard anyone say anything how the zoetrope sounds. I don't have it, so it's not really an issue. But yeah, the record sounds good, and the music being played sounds really good. This sounds fresh. It sounds professional, and inspired, and thorough in a way. And as I've understood it, most of the band is new. The one guitarist is still the same as on some of his previous albums, and the producer. But aside from that, we have new rhythm section and keyboardist and so on. So maybe that also helps to it. New songwriting partners. There's not much hint of any of the goofiness that sometimes I feel has dragged one or two songs down on Morrissey albums. But I want to get a couple of the things that I did not like so much out of the way right away, because I think it starts off. I'm very pleased with the first track here. You're right, it's time. And Makeup is a Lie. I found that's the one song where I'm thinking, yeah, well, at least Morris is back, because it didn't do that much to me. I think the lyrics are. And most of the lyrics are thought-provoking, and they're, from Morrissey's point of view, sincere. And I generally try to. This time, I really try to sort of also read and look at the lyrics. I'm not a lyrics guy, especially not initially for records that much. But where I started to worry was the third track, Notre Dame. I mean, first of all, we all have our special interests, and you will let your friends talk about their special interest, but when they start sort of ramming it down your throat, when you're clearly not that interested, and you get the feeling that, yes, but you should be interested, listen to this, and it comes off as such a conspiracy theory thing, and also Notre Dame, blah blah blah, Notre Dame, blah blah blah, Notre Dame, blah blah blah, Notre Dame, blah blah blah. And then before investigations, they said there's nothing to see here. And then Notre Dame, la da 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 da, Notre Dame, we will not be silent. I was like, oh my God, will you? Yeah, and who are you alluding to? Knowing Morrissey, are you now after some group of people? What's going on here? And so I was very relieved when that song was over. And if I had this thing on CD, I'm pretty sure I would click the skip button on that one. But then because I am always a little weary when my artists that I like do cover songs. Let's not go into when they do cover albums, because that's, I'm not a fan of that. You remember when Duran Duran had a comeback with the Wedding album, and then we had to wait for another album, and they lost all momentum, and then the next album was a cover album. That didn't work that well, but the cover song Amazona by Roxy Music, I really like that. And knowing sort of Morrissey's formative years, mid-70s, and the music he probably listened to back then, a lot of glam and Roxy Music, glam, sophisti-pop, clever and harder yacht rock. I don't know, but yeah, I really like his version of a couple of other songs that sort of stands out. Headache, maybe should have been called Migraine. But we know what the theme is about. Probably, do you take this headache to be your armor? To cherish and obey now and forevermore, as long as you both shall live. So it's relationships and marriage, I suppose. But there's a whisper, which I don't think. He should do more. He should do that more, I think. I like that. And we have a return of the La La Las. We remember some Smith songs and otherwise there. One other little bit of critique. We get some really good, instrumentals, music. There's some funkiness going on here as well, which surprised me a little bit. Some great drumming and guitar solos, which are really nice. But I kind of wish we could have had a bit more of that in a way. I know we come for the Morrissey show and all that, but some of these songs are very wordy. He does it. In defense of Notre Dame, it's not that worthy. But for example, a song like Boulevard, he and Zoom Zoom, the little boy, I guess, a couple of it's lengthy deluge of words to keep up with sometimes, I guess, is my other one pet peeve, if there is one. But Otherwise, I liked Zoom Zoom, the little boy, the night pop dropped. There's some, on Zoom Zoom. There's your usual, animal welfare, which I adore, of course, but you do sort of, think about people who bought tickets to see him and then him turning up and smelling meat on the air and then just fucking off and stuff like that. So, yeah, but he's a bit more. I feel he's a little more. I feel almost like he's taken stock of himself a little bit and doesn't overdo it this time around, and that makes for a more pleasant listen. Sorry, Morrissey. I mean, you might not want us to have a pleasant listen, but no, I really like this album, and there's some beautiful, and oh my god, this man's voice. It's so him, and it's so good, and he's, what is he now, 66, isn't he? And I'm really impressed how he delivers, and the songs, how clear he is, and warm. Yeah, he's warm on this record, and I really like that. So I guess for someone who doesn't really, and kudos to Joe Ciccarelli for producing, and Patrick Dillette and Bill Mims have mixed and engineered, and it sounds like they also did a fabulous job. So, rich, warm, mature Morrissey on this one. One or two songs that I could have easily said maybe use another one, but apart from that, I'm really pleased with this album. I really enjoyed it, so I hope that might entice some of you. If there's anyone sitting on the fence as far as Morrissey go, either you listen to Morrissey or you don't, I guess, I suppose. But so that's what I had to say about the record, and I hope you enjoyed my, well, dare I say, review of it. So that was a look at and a few thoughts about, as it's difficult not to have a few thoughts about Mr. Morrissey. You're not supposed to, I guess, but we do voice our opinion about other artists who have sort of disappointed us or gone a different direction than our own musically, but often in a way where their behavior might be pushing our personal sensibilities a bit too far, and politically also ends up on the spectrum which is so beyond anything that you find acceptable. And then that music, that lingers on in the back of your head from your youth, and when you put on your dad's old tweed jacket and like I had a shirt which was like really 60s psychedelic, and jeans, of course, and old military combat boots, and hair sort of straggly and all that stuff. And obviously I was influenced by the Smiths, and I was influenced by the Cure, and not least Ian McCulloch from Echo and the Bunnymen, and then when you try to stay with these artists for the rest of your life and adulthood, and you get that spark and that remembrance of that youthful discovery, which you keep hunting for and seeking over and over again, because you keep buying records out of some sort of, I sometimes think it's some kind of feeling that I owe it to them, and that I'm trying to be faithful to them. But is it that, or is it how much of it is we love what they are making now 35 years later or 40 years later, and how much is that we're looking for that continuous spark beyond our, because I'm not questioning my or anyone else's love of music, obviously, and I think like Mazzy and a couple of you other guys keep saying listen to new music. There is so much cool new music out there, and ultimately I guess in some ways I do that more than I used to, because you guys out there in the vinyl community out there making me aware of it. But yet you return to people and their music, even in this case without having heard one note of this before I picked up this and started making this video. So yeah, there are some questions for you. So anyway, guys, if you're still listening to this and not, very unhappy what I've been saying in this video, please click like. That helps my channel. If you want to subscribe, well, that makes me happy, and I do love nice comments and comments that are inducive to starting a conversation. And I hope to see you guys soon in another video. Bye bye.